But that's no disrespect to Miss Good. Miss Good was a very respected poet in her community. Or at least one of her three children is now orphaned because his father died 2 years ago, and the child was in the car, the 6 year old, when the officer decided to shoot her three times in the face. It's also important to stress not only was he on the side of the vehicle, so there was no threat. She was trying to get away, not moving towards him.
Right.
But they knew who she was. All the ICE people knew
Yep.
who she was. She'd been a legal observer there. So
Yep.
this was intentional murder. But it's also important to stress that after she was shot, because people have survived shots to the face. Depending where the bullets go, you can survive a face shot or multiple face shots. They said she received 2 or 3 bullets. She could have survived, but it's important to stress that when there was physicians on the scene, because my mother's a legal observer, so she told me, I think she told me, I heard from somebody that when you have legal observers for ICE, there's always a
Right.
physician on the ground. So there was a guy within
Correct.
seconds of the shooting that said, "I'm a physician, let me through," and they refused. And not only that, when an ambulance came 15 minutes later, they wouldn't let them in immediately either. They basically waited till she had no pulse, so they didn't want her to let her live. So this was an act of
Yep.
terrorism, an act of
Yep.
intentional murder, cold blooded. That was probably
Yep.
planned because they knew who she was and they wanted to make an example out of her.
Yep.
So the guy should probably receive the death penalty who did it. There's
Right.
pictures of his face out there. I don't know. Oh
His
yeah,
name
there
is
was a report of what his
Jonathan
name was.
John Roth.
Right. So I mean, I don't know what's going to take a citizen's arrest, a governor ordering the National Guard to shoot ICE on site. That's what I would do if I was governor. If I was governor of Minnesota, this is what I would have said verbatim. I order ICE 24 hours to get out of my state, or I will order National Guard to shoot on site. And the officers involved, the ICE agents that were involved, should be arrested before they leave the state. The rest of ICE should get out, or within 24 hours, they'll have orders to be shot on site. That's what a revolutionary does. For example, Delcy Rodriguez recently, the new president, the interim president of Venezuela, and we'll get into Venezuela. She said to the French ambassador, "You have 24 hours to get out of Caracas," because the son of a bitch Macron actually dared
Yeah.
back the kidnapping of Maduro. That's what a leader says. Walt's
Right.
response, the governor of Minnesota, who's got some praise, was pretty lukewarm. He only said,
He
"Oh,
told
I'm
him
going
to
to have
get
to
the
get the
fuck out
National
though.
Guard." No, no, that was the mayor. You're confusing the mayor with the
Oh yeah,
governor. I
yeah.
was going to get into the mayor.
Yeah,
I
my
have a
bad.
lot more respect for the mayor of
Waltz.
Minneapolis.
Right.
Waltz was the
Right.
vice presidential candidate of Kamala. He's very moderate. He's not a
Right.
progressive like
Yeah.
the mayor. The mayor said the right thing. The mayor, I would have said pretty much the same thing the mayor said. And the mayor doesn't have the
Right.
authority to order not the guard to shoot anybody. I would have said what the mayor
Right.
said was, which get the fuck out. He used the F word, which it was appropriate to use the F word in that situation. And he's probably
Right.
going to fire his police chief to it. So I completely support the mayor. I'm talking about the very lukewarm
Mhm.
response of the governor, because all he
Right.
said was, you've done enough to help us. We're going to have to get the National Guard involved. No, don't say involved. Be explicit. Trump only
Right.
understands toughness. He understands nonviolence. He's a
Exactly.
fascist bully. So
Yep.
he should have said, you have the rest of the ICE that we're not going to arrest in our state now that weren't involved. You have 24
Right.
hours to get out of Minnesota, or you will be shot by the National Guard, the state National Guard on site. And people say, "Oh, if they said that civil war." No, if you don't do anything, it's going to eventually be civil war. If you keep giving lukewarm responses, the bottle's going to explode, and then there's going to be civil war. So
Right.
if you don't start acting tough now and threatening to shoot these terrorists, so there's no other way to
Right.
put them, then there's going to be civil war. I'm sick and tired of these bourgeois Democrats that are giving lukewarm response. What more needs to happen? What more? And
Your
if the United
anger.
States is going to preach democracy to Venezuela, when this shit is going on here, they're going to kidnap the real democratic leader while this is still going on.
Right.
It's like Malcolm X said, we don't live in a democracy. What we're living in is hypocrisy.
Right.
That's what we're living right now.
Right. Right. No, Alex, you are absolutely correct. I mean, you're hitting all my thoughts on the nail. It's coming a time where the state is going to have to forcefully remove the federal ICE agents out of their state. Um, and that's why I agree with when we talk about Brendan Johnson of Chicago, the mayor Brendan Johnson. He is looking to prosecute ICE agents. They
I
are
believe there's
doing
only a
state
few.
terror.
There's only a few hundred ICE agents in Minnesota. There's thousands of
Mhm.
National Guards that can be called up. They could be forcibly removed very easily. The question is, will Trump escalate and send more? No, I think Trump will cower it out, because whenever anybody stood up to Trump, he's cowered out. Perfect example is Claudia Sheinbaum. When he first became reelected, he said he was going to go into Mexico and destroy their economy if they didn't listen to him. And Claudia Sheinbaum is a real leader. And she said, "Oh, you want all your food prices to go up because most of your agriculture comes from my country? Is that what you want?" She stood up like a real leader, and Trump backed off and made a deal with Mexico because Trump only respects toughness. Trump would have respect for Waltz if he started saying he was going to shoot ICE on sight, and he would not send more ICE. That would prevent a civil war. But if you can keep having lukewarm responses, things are going to explode, and the people themselves are going to have to form militias to take on ICE. Then you're going to have a civil war.
And look, I understand that people are like, "Oh, Alex Suarez sounds crazy talking about the National Guard is going to have to."
I'm well versed in history. I'm well versed in history, and I know Trump's behavior. I know Trump's mentality. This is like Spain in the 1930s. How did the Spanish Civil War happen? Because the bourgeois, progressive Republicans, they call themselves Republicans, but they're not like Republicans in America today. The Republicanos in Spain. The bourgeois progressive Republicans were very soft with Franco and the fascists. And it took socialists stepping in and forming militias. That's how the Spanish Civil War happened. And it's almost the same as what's happening in the United States now. I'm basing this based on my knowledge of history as an historian.
Yeah, and it's in self-defense within itself. I mean, look, she would still be alive today if ICE would have never been in these neighborhoods to begin with. ICE is the cause of her death. ICE is the cause of that brother whose last name is Porter. I can't think of his first name right now. The brother that died on New Year's Eve. They murdered that man. They are literally getting away with murder. And Kristi Noem, of all fucking people, and JD
by the way,
Vance,
1,200 people here in Florida went missing at Alligator Alcatraz. Nobody knows where they are.
Alcatraz.
They're probably buried in a mass grave. The media barely touches it because they're undocumented. But now they're even killing American citizens. If they get away with killing a white lady, you think they're going to get away with killing you and me? We need to do something about this.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Look what JD Vance said. Look what fucking JD Vance said. Let's show an example of why it's time for self-defense. Why?
Could you play the TikTok after this one?
Agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop.
That was the most biggest load of shit I have heard this year. And I'm going to hear more bullshit.
I only wish Waltz. That's why I want to show a positive video after this, a TikTok one. But I'm saying, to call Waltz radical. What parallel universe is he living in? Like, and if Waltz was saying that his National Guard should fire on ICE, it's going to be hard for him to say people, right? Because you're talking about National Guard here. Let me tell you, JD Vance would probably be ordered by Trump, or Trump himself would give a very lighter statement had you had tough responses like that. But again, Waltz is being too lukewarm. The man I respect right now, I can't think of his name. I recently followed him on Twitter after I saw what he said. I was very impressed. Was the progressive mayor of Minneapolis. He actually put his police chief in his place. He might fire him now. He has the authority to do that because the police chief was the first to speak at the press conference. And the police chief said, it appears she was blocking ICE agents. And then the mayor came in and said, whoever saw the video that I saw and didn't see this as murder, it's bullshit. ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. That's pretty much what I would have said if I was mayor. So I have a lot of respect for that guy.
And I want to say before we go into the TikTok video with Maduro, what we need to do as the working class is exactly what they're doing right now in Minnesota. We need bodies in the street. Whenever you hear about ICE presence, it's happening here in
Everywhere.
New
ICE
Haven.
was just here in Jacksonville Beach the other
Right.
day. They're throughout the country. You don't have to go to Minneapolis. Protest locally.
Bodies in the street 24/7 to protect our families. This is the only way we can stop them. And it works. When there are bodies in the street, you see them in New York, they run ICE out. They run ICE out.
By the way, it's
ICE don't get
better to, I don't know what the laws are in Connecticut when it comes to guns, but it's better to go to a gun show because you can buy in bulk. And they're not as strict about background checks. Yeah. Well, if you're anywhere in the South, I recommend all comrades go to gun shows to get as many weapons as possible. I plan to get a weapon soon, take a picture with it, but definitely, it would be suicidal, and as Malcolm X would say, not intelligent for so-called minorities to not arm themselves, especially now. We are in a country where it's pretty easy to get a gun. What's the first thing Maduro did when the latest threat happened? He went into the communities and gave free rifles to the working class. What kind of dictator is that? He's going to give rifles to the people that would overthrow him because he has faith in his people. Why do you think the United States has not sent anybody but a Delta Force in there, an act of cowardice in a pre-dawn raid? Because they know that they would be massacred by the militias who are real fighters, including women.